is Super Bowl Sunday, and I have a super packed off the script for this Sunday, February 9th, 2025. Jordynne Grace is on her way to the WWE. She was in the Women's Royal Rumble, had a very impressive showing for another year in WWE's biggest match of the entire year, and now she's going to fit into whichever women's division WWE wants to put her in, whether it's the Raw Women's Division or the SmackDown Women's Division. But is she going to start on the main roster, or is Jordynne Grace going down to NXT? I got the latest on her status now that she's with the WWE right here today on Off the Script. Big plans for Drew McIntyre now that he's officially on SmackDown. And I got the latest on Tony Khan listening to Jim Cornette on a weekly basis. According to Jimmy Jacobs, former AEW creative writer who's no longer there, Jimmy Jacobs. I got all this today on OTS. We're going to start with Jordynne Grace. Jordynne Grace is not headed to the main roster just yet. Details on her WWE contract. Jordynne Grace's appearance in the Women's Royal Rumble was not just a one-off surprise. She is officially with the company after leaving TNA after their last pay-per-view. Grace entered at number 19. She was officially announced as signing with the WWE that same weekend. A multi-year deal with WWE comes after Grace concluded her TNA wrestling commitments at Genesis in January, despite previously claiming she wouldn't be in town because of her mother's 50th birthday, where she very slyly photoshopped a plane ticket, and it was not headed to Indianapolis. It was all a troll job by Jordynne Grace. She did indeed make her presence felt in the Royal Rumble, as many fans expected. Now, Fightful Select and Sean Ross Sapp reports that she signed a 5-year contract with WWE, and that will take her to 2029 with the company. The plan is for her to go to NXT for the time being, with the expectation that she won't be there long before going to the main roster. Grace is reportedly under a main roster deal, and the belief is that she will be in NXT around the time of Vengeance Day. Grace retains rights to her name and theme song, as she owns both. I don't believe this story at all. I don't. Being that it's coming from Sapp, it's probably got more legitimacy than if you were to hear it from anywhere else. If she signed a main roster deal, I don't know why WWE wouldn't immediately throw her on Raw or throw her on SmackDown. I mean, it doesn't really make any sense whatsoever. If they're paying her to be a main roster talent, then ultimately go down to NXT. The only reason why I think they would send her down to NXT is to really fully engulf the WWE system in the way that WWE does things. Camera work, entrance work on an entrance. Just get ready for the main roster after a couple of matches down there and then get moved up. Maybe WWE conducts a trade or a draft, or they want to come up with some other excuse for a transfer portal or a window of some sort. I don't know. I don't really believe this story because, let's be honest, Jordynne Grace has already made several appearances for NXT. She's worked with TNA, which is not a rinky-dink promotion. They got TV. They have pay-per-view. She's in front of a live audience. So this is a woman who is a seasoned veteran who knows what to do. Now, obviously, TNA is not WWE. WWE is a different beast. They do things a different way. They want things done specifically to what they want. I don't really understand why she can't learn this down in NXT on her off time and then go to the main roster and just be integrated in something there, like her talents. Obviously, everybody understands how good she is, that her talents provide to the main roster. I don't really get why moving her to NXT first is a benefit to anybody. What is she going to do down there? Who's she going to feud with? Julia's not losing the championship. Who is she going to feud with? Stephanie Vaquer. She's about to win the North American Championship. Who else is down there? Zarya? I mean, all of these women eventually within the next 12 months are going to be on the main roster anyway. Stephanie Vaquer is going to be on the main roster within a year. Julia's going to be on the main roster. As soon as you drop the NXT Championship, she's going to be on the main roster. You could see where WWE is just kind of lining up their ducks in a row You see what women don't really need to be there, but are there because they have to be integrated into the WWE system. Jordynne Grace is not that. She's had several appearances on NXT. She's been in the Royal Rumble now 2 years in a row. She's worked main roster matches in the Royal Rumble. Don't really understand what the benefit of that is. It's like you're losing time. It's like you're signing a talent and just throwing money down the toilet and not using them to make what is important better, and that is the main roster. Maybe they just bring her into NXT and then don't have anything planned for her going into WrestleMania, and they would find benefit in her in NXT, being that they don't have WrestleMania plans for her, and then after WrestleMania, assign her to Raw or SmackDown. Maybe that's the case. But I think we all understand as fans that she's main roster ready. So it might just be that they don't have any plans for her going into WrestleMania, and they figure, let's get her integrated into the system. A couple of months in NXT won't hurt her. Raw after Mania, she makes her debut. She's on Raw or SmackDown following WrestleMania. We'll see what happens with Jordynne Grace, but I think we all can come to a common understanding that she is absolutely main roster ready. Speaking of main roster, WWE talents, they're not happy with Def Rebel, which is not a surprise whatsoever. We haven't really heard about it, at least up until a couple of weeks ago, where the rumors started that Def Rebel may be on their way out of WWE, and WWE will no longer be working with them because their contracts are coming up. The talent is not happy. No shit. The fans aren't happy. I'm sure WWE's not happy. The WWE's not happy because the fans are not happy. The WWE's not happy because the wrestlers aren't happy. Def Rebel sucks. I think everybody, again, understands how bad they are. Numerous fans pointed out their frustration with the WWE music production group Def Rebel, with the theme songs remaining unidentifiable for many of the talents. All you got to do is watch the Royal Rumble. I mean, if you are not watching WWE across the week, Raw, NXT, and SmackDown regularly every week, and you don't know what's going on, you don't know who's coming out. If you don't know the talent that's on the program every single week across all three brands, and you're not fully just mesmerized by everything that's going on, you don't have a fucking clue who's coming out. I mean, Lash Legend, she shows up in the Royal Rumble. I'm like, who is that? Who is, oh, it's Lash Legend. You can't identify the theme song with the pro wrestler and the pro wrestler with the theme song. Candice LeRae, Shayna Baszler, Sonya Deville, Zoe Stark. I mean, it is fucking comical how bad these songs are. Sheamus is another one who has to suffer. They gave him his old theme song back, something that was identifiable to the fans, and got a reaction when you first heard the notes of the beginning of the song hit. Now we don't know who the fuck it is. It's like everything is just so simplified, and it's very lazy. You don't know who's coming out. Numerous fans pointed out their frustration with Def Rebel. Talent has noted their frustration with Def Rebel. And a number of talent in WWE, Fightful have spoken to several talents, and they all feel the same way. Fightful says they indicated in the past that no talent that Fightful spoke with have interacted with Def Rebel producers for input on songs. I mean, that's mistake number one right there. You want to know why they're unidentifiable? There you go. Fightful spoke with and have interacted with talent that said to them that Def Rebel producers have not gone to talent for input on songs. I mean, don't you need to meet with the talent, understand who the talent is, get a vibe for the charisma of the talent, the attitude of the talent, the character of the talent, to maybe apply all of those things into the theme song that you're writing? Imagine Def Rebel reaches out to Triple H or Nick Khan. Yeah, who do we need theme music for? Sheamus. All right, well, who is Sheamus? What is he? He's an Irish-born pro wrestler. All right, we'll just, we'll make something that you'll hear on the fucking commercials for Lucky Charms. Over the rainbow, me Lucky Charms. Give me a fucking break, man. You gotta be fucking serious with this shit. Beyond that, we're told by talent that several have expressed unhappiness with the quality of the theme songs and have made attempts to get their previous themes back. WWE has also made requests to change a number of themes that the talent vehemently pushed back on. One of which was Randy Orton. Def Rebel had a Randy Orton theme all ready to go. You guys know Randy Orton's iconic theme, right? So Randy Orton heard this Def Rebel. He left and said, I'm not using this shit. I'm taking my old music back. I don't give a fuck what you guys got to do and who you got to pay. You're giving me my fucking theme music. So that was just one report. Some talent have managed to keep their previous themes, while others have not been so lucky. So you could see who has their CFO money themes. Bianca Belair has her CFO theme. Io Sky has her CFO theme. There are a couple of others I can't think of right now. You know, several others have kept their themes. Def Rebel, at least with some of the CFO themes, try to mimic or recreate in the same vein what the CFO group did and tried to create the same type of theme song for the new WWE talent. Pete Dunne comes to mind. His theme kind of resembles what CFO Money had. I know Jade Cargill came over from AEW. They did a great job with the recreation of her theme from AEW and Mikey Ruckus's theme. I think Jade Cargill's theme is great, and it's an identifiable theme song. But everybody else, I mean, it's just fucking all. Bayley's may be the most offensive. I legitimately cringe every time I hear Bayley's theme song. Role model. And then it goes into some Egyptian type theme, and then it's just, I mean, a fucking 4-year-old could come up with the theme song better on their Fisher-Price piano or Fisher-Price themed musical toy. It's ridiculous. Tiffany Stratton's theme is terrible. It's Tiffy time. I mean, why does everybody need their catchphrase in the beginning of their songs? That's the only way they know it's identifiable. Oh, it's Tiffany Stratton. And then it goes into some random garbage notes and fucking beats and whatever else they come up with. It is so bad. So bad. But WWE, another one is a great theme, is Shinsuke Nakamura's. They took his old CFO Money theme and kind of recreated it into this samurai-esque theme. You know, there are some good Def Rebel themes, mostly for the Anoa'i family. Jey Uso's is a Def Rebel theme. Obviously, it's probably one of the best theme songs in the entire WWE. Look at the reactions that it gets. Jimmy Uso's theme is not bad. Roman's theme, his heel theme is better than his babyface theme, but his theme is not bad. Jacob Fatu's theme is very good. Tama Tonga or the Tongans, their theme is good. It's like they put effort into who they need to put effort into, but everybody else gets the fucking scraps. So I don't know what they do. There was a rumor that WWE brought back Jim Johnston. That was debunked. WWE has now brought back Jim Johnston. I don't know what they're doing. Finn Balor is another one that comes to mind. What an awful fucking thing. You could not continue to pay Alter Bridge for the other side for the Judgment Day, but you end up giving the Judgment Day that shit. Look at what they did to Carlito. Look at his theme music. How could you get rid of that theme? He's not a major player on the company side for what we see on Raw, but holy shit. What are we doing? Damian Priest's theme. I don't know if it's a Def Rebel theme or if he had outside sources recorded. I know Kerry King from Slayer has a guest appearance on Damian Priest's theme. Listen, there was a rumor that WWE was going to work with more established musicians, actual musicians, and licensed music. I hope that's the case, and hopefully that is the direction that they go in. But if we got to continue hearing this shit, man, hopefully sooner rather than later, Def Rebel is on their way out of WWE. It's the most important aspect of a character that you want to portray on television. It's character work and their theme music. If you don't have the theme music, then people are not going to care about your character work or care about you as a performer. Jey Uso is the finest of examples. Everybody loves his theme music, and then they associate his theme and the good vibes and the energy to Jey Uso. It's not that difficult to understand. Whoever Def Rebel is, wherever they were trained, whatever their mentality is not for the pro wrestling realm. All I know is that. Drew McIntyre. He has been in the headlines this week following some controversy coming out of the Royal Rumble. He reportedly showed his displeasure with a wrestler, now we know to be the name of LA Knight, in the Royal Rumble, prioritizing their moves over the match's storytelling, which botched his elimination in the 30-man men's over-the-top rope battle royal. PW Insider reported that McIntyre's elimination was intended to happen earlier, but timing issues arose. The original plan involved McIntyre being eliminated before Logan Paul entered, following a face-off with Damian Priest. It was later revealed McIntyre was supposed to tease eliminating Jey Uso after which Priest would eliminate him, setting up their WrestleMania match. However, those plans were derailed by the timing issues. The wrestler that McIntyre was frustrated with, I thought, was Logan Paul. It ended up being LA Knight. In the latest edition of the Wrestling Observer newsletter, Dave Meltzer reports that McIntyre is on SmackDown officially and will feud with Damian Priest. Now, we have to wait and see if that is the case. Both will be inside the Elimination Chamber. I'm sure whatever comes out of the chamber will born their WrestleMania match. Meltzer wrote, there is also a plan right now for Drew McIntyre and Cody Rhodes in 2025, which was scheduled for 2023 before Rhodes ended up not winning the WWE Championship that year. SummerSlam would be the best destination to do that. As I have discussed on my own platform, and as we have discussed on Tuesday Night Titans with the Solid Monster, Drew McIntyre, whatever happens coming out of WrestleMania, going into WrestleMania, coming out of WrestleMania, Drew McIntyre is my current odds-on favorite to win the Men's King of the Ring tournament. Now, if he doesn't win the King of the Ring tournament, Money in the Bank is always a great plan B. But I'm going with Drew McIntyre to win this year's King of the Ring tournament, become the number one contender for the WWE Championship, and potentially wrestle Cody Rhodes at SummerSlam in New Jersey at MetLife Stadium, which would be a 2-night pay-per-view for WWE. That is my prediction for Drew McIntyre. Where Randy Orton fits into those plans, I don't know. I know everybody is clamoring for a Randy Orton-Cody Rhodes match, potentially at WrestleMania. I don't know if that's going to happen at Mania this year. If it doesn't, we are wanting to see that come to fruition, whether it is this summer at some point, going into SummerSlam, maybe towards the end of the year. Maybe they hold off on it till next year's WrestleMania. I don't know. But McIntyre is my early pick, an early odds-on favorite to win the Men's King of the Ring tournament, and a WWE Championship run this year should absolutely be in the plans for Drew McIntyre. Obviously, I'd love to see him get a feud with Roman Reigns proper as well and beat Roman Reigns, but WWE has not given us any indication that is where Drew McIntyre is going, so we'll see what happens going into WrestleMania, coming out of WrestleMania. I am going with McIntyre winning the King of the Ring tournament. Finally, for all the bullshit that Tony Khan gets from Brian Last and Jim Cornette, you would think that Tony Khan doesn't listen to the Jim Cornette Experience. You would think that Tony Khan doesn't listen to the Jim Cornette Drive-Thru podcast. You would think that after all these negative comments and all these weeks and months and years of him putting down the product that we see on AEW Dynamite and AEW Collision, making fun of the talent, making fun of the writing, the storytelling, the creative, the shows, the ratings, that he would not listen to it anymore because he knows exactly what he's going to get. Or imagine listening to it and then using it as a potential way to make your show better and then ignoring everything. Tony Khan apparently is a huge fan of the Jim Cornette Experience podcast, and Jimmy Jacobs exposed Tony Khan for being a huge fan of what Jim Cornette does content-wise. First of all, Jimmy Jacobs, he was interviewed by Bodyslam.net, Mark O'Brien, by Bodyslam.net. Jimmy Jacobs denies being a leaker in WWE, responds to lies about his role in AEW before he walked away from his position. Now, during an interview with Mark O'Brien at Bodyslam.net, Jacobs pushed back and tried to clarify what exactly his role was as part of Tony Khan's creative team. Now, Jimmy Jacobs, he was a former Ring of Honor talent. He worked on the creative teams for TNA, WWE, and AEW. So he knows how the process works for being a creative writer. He also can't believe the narrative that's out there about how much influence he had on certain AEW storylines. There was something floating around where people made up something and made up bullshit that he was a part of that he vehemently denied. All the bad things that you saw on AEW television were supposedly doctored up by sickos, by the AEW fan base, in order to blame Jimmy Jacobs for the reason why AEW television's been bad so that they can deflect blame from Tony Khan. That is what actually happened. Believe it or not. I'm not surprised at all because whatever ground that Tony Khan walks on, the sickos, I mean, they bow to Tony Khan like he's some fucking Roman emperor. So that's just the way things happen in the land of the AEW sickos. But Jimmy Jacobs first denied ever leaking information to the dirt sheets when he worked for WWE. There were a lot of misconceptions, he says, about my time in AEW and what my role was there. I've been off Twitter for years, but I was informed probably about 6 months into my time at AEW, this narrative that was going on that just couldn't have been further from the truth. Being in the wrestling business, I'm used to being criticized or critiqued by my performance for what I do. It was a whole new thing for me that I still honestly haven't gotten used to, which was being judged by lies. And they were all lies. There were lies about me and my career, probably starting after I was fired from WWE. There were people that had this narrative that I was a leak in WWE, which I absolutely 100% was not. I even tried to put it together. It's like, where are they even getting this from? That was just a complete fabrication, untrue to the core, to the bone. But that was not what I did at all. I don't understand people that leak things to the dirt sheets. You don't understand that people, or don't understand people that leak things to the dirt sheet. I mean, AEW does that to this very day. They leak shit to Meltzer and Sapp over at Fightful, and they want something out there that's going to push the narrative in their favor. If something's negative, AEW, something's negative and true, AEW is going to leak shit to the dirt sheets to fix that. Or if they want something about someone out there, for example, the latest example is Malachi Black. You know, Malachi, the last rumor was that he's on his way to WWE. So obviously the smear campaign starts for Malachi Black. Oh, nobody wanted him in the AEW locker room. They're all happy he's gone. How the fuck did that get out there? Who spoke to who? How does that narrative get out there? Someone in the locker room who is now upset and disgruntled that he's going to the WWE for whatever reason is going to get information out there that nobody in AEW wanted him. Good for him. Goodbye. We don't want him. We're glad he's gone. You don't understand how people leak shit to the dirt sheets, but the people that you used to work for continue to do it to this very day. I don't understand it. AEW will continue to leak shit to the dirt sheets, whereas WWE, they are tight-lipped about everything. They will let you know what they want you to know, and if everything is out there as far as WWE, it's not even remotely even close to the truth. Triple H has always dumbed down the creative aspect and put a tight seal over what is actually happening. We don't know a fucking thing that's happening during WrestleMania season. Nothing. It's all rumor and speculation. If this was AEW, we'd have a whole fucking card for All In already. Jacob says his role on AEW's creative team was focused on administration work rather than writing stories. Oh, gee, you mean the role that now Will Washington has? Great. So they got rid of somebody who worked in the business and gave that position to someone who has no business experience whatsoever. Don't know how that's a fruitful venture there for Tony Khan, but I mean, what the fuck do I know? The idea of what my role was at AEW is just completely untrue. I would challenge anyone to name one segment that I wrote and produced at AEW to then criticize it, because I didn't. That wasn't my job there, almost like at all. Mostly what I did at AEW was administration stuff. I was on the creative team, but people don't know the creative process, and they won't because everybody signed an NDA. Even in the wrestling business, I was shocked when I got to WWE and realized that the wrestlers didn't know what the creative process was. So, of course, these fans online absolutely don't. I think we know more about the AEW creative process than we do about the WWE creative process. AEW creative process goes through one man and one man only, and that is Tony Khan. And you see who is on his team and how the team operates. You just know. One specific claim that Jacob said is complete bullshit is the notion that he added supernatural elements into AEW television, hearkening back to the undead realm in TNA. This narrative that I brought supernatural stuff into AEW, I didn't. This wasn't true at all. These people have no idea what they're talking about. I don't know. What supernatural elements were there on AEW? What the fuck are people talking about? This is where I defend him and the company. What supernatural elements? The only supernatural elements that we got were the lights going out and fucking people appearing in the aisleway, the lights go out and then appearing in the fucking ring. That was it. I mean, that's a concept and a thing that's been done to death. It's not even special anymore. But I don't remember any supernatural elements being on AEW television, so I don't know what people are talking about. It's not like we got fireballs and Hadoukens and lighting fixtures falling down to the fucking ring from the ceiling because Alexa Bliss is the queen of evil and she's a part of the Wyatt Fiend universe. That was bad. That was supernatural. Or Damian Priest in the early days of Judgment Day, where I remember vividly he wrestled AJ Styles on a Monday Night Raw. The match went to no outcome. He's standing in the middle of the ring with a purple light on him, and he disappears, and we go to commercial break. There were never any supernatural elements in AEW. I haven't spoken about this publicly, and I really didn't wish to, but you asked me to do this podcast, and this is on my mind because the record needs to be set straight from my end. I'm not going to fight with people or argue with people, but I'm going to tell the truth, and the truth is, I wasn't writing AEW television at all. Tony Khan usually comes up with mostly everything you see on television. He's got people murmuring and whispering in his ear, this and that. Maybe they should whisper and murmur in his ear a little bit more. Hey, boss man, this doesn't work. I don't think this is a good idea. People won't do that because they won't, ruffle the feathers of boss man. They won't rattle the nest. They like their cozy job to do basically nothing and be paid to do basically nothing. And they don't want to upset the fucking Tyrannosaurus Rex that's sitting in Gorilla producing and writing and formatting this show. Tony has ideas of what he wants to do. I sort of organize that information, and ultimately I give the information to the appropriate people at the appropriate time. Because you don't want too much information getting to too many people too soon because things change and this and that. And you don't want leaks or whatever. So there is a proper flow of information of who needs to know what, when, and that's what I did. I would help craft the show, but ultimately, it was up to Tony. My creative fingerprints really weren't on the show almost at all. So that's what I did, especially on the live TV days when things were moving, things are changing. I'm just there in the office getting everything out of the pre-tape crew and go, hey, we got this here, we need this talent. Letting the coaches know, hey, you got this match. Right now, this is the time, but that might change. That's what I'm doing. And then he goes on to say, in regards to Tony Khan, listening to Jim Cornette's podcasts on the road. Now, Jim Cornette and Brian Last do a very good job. They're very critical of the AEW product. Cornette built up a cult following for his big rants on the state of pro wrestling, mainly AEW. He's also not afraid to call out those in the business, and he's not enamored with or, whether he's favored with these people on a personal, professional level, critical of what he perceives as bad wrestling. Two names who have counted themselves as listeners to Cornette's show are Jimmy Jacobs and Tony Khan, with Jacobs revealing to Body Slam how he and Tony would tune into Cornette's show on long drives between AEW shows. We would drive for hours, says Jimmy Jacobs, from one show to the next. And Tony would always be there, talking about wrestling, his vision for AEW, just soaking in everything. It was a chance to really bond over the things that matter, like how we want to shape the future of wrestling. Tony and I would listen to Jim Cornette's podcast during those long drives, and it became a thing. Sometimes we'd agree, sometimes we disagree. But what was most important was the passion behind what Cornette said. Gee, why isn't that aimed towards what I do? Why is what I do hate and what Jim Cornette does is passion? Don't really understand that. I digress. It was always about respecting the history of wrestling and understanding what makes the business work. Jacobs went on to say, Cornette's a polarizing figure, but you can't deny that he knows wrestling. Tony would often ask me, do you agree with Jim on this? It wasn't about agreeing with him necessarily, but more about understanding where he was coming from and applying that knowledge to what we were doing in AEW. But the thing is, Tony would listen to Jim Cornette's podcast with Jimmy Jacobs, listen to Jim Cornette shitting on the show, ask Jimmy, do you agree with Jim Cornette on this specific topic or whatever we're doing? Do you agree with him on it? And Jimmy says, it's more about understanding where he's coming from and applying that knowledge to what we're doing in AEW. But you never applied anything that Jim Cornette said. You never went and actively fixed what Jim Cornette was talking about. If there's one person that knows what is wrong with what we're watching on television, it is going to be someone like Jim Cornette, whether you like him or not. I don't really understand it. Eric Bischoff is another one that falls into that camp. You can sit there and claim that Eric Bischoff was the reason for the demise of WCW. You are allowed to have that opinion. But you can't deny his importance to the overall history of pro wrestling. And the same goes for Jim Cornette. Now, I listened to this, and I thought to myself, imagine listening to Jim Cornette shit on your show weekly, and you sit there and do nothing to change anything he's complaining about for the better. So it made me think, does Tony have some sort of weird fetish where he enjoys listening to people actively shit on what he does? Is it a case where he has a fetish, a weird fetish at that, where he loves being talked down to? Or is it just the fact that he's so power hungry? He'll listen to someone like Cornette blast Dynamite and Collision, blast a segment, blast the fucking creative on the show, do nothing to actively change it, thinking that I can show him I can do it better than him. I'll do what I want to do, and I'm going to get people to say it's a great show and a great segment and great creative. So fuck Jim Cornette. Is it a fetish, or is it a defiance from Tony Khan where he won't listen to what Cornette says and actively do nothing to change it in hopes that everyone around him will tell him he's doing a good job, so he feels empowered and Jim Cornette feels wrong? I don't really understand how you could listen to a podcast every single week, shit on your show, shit on what you have created, which we all know has dropped off significantly. Know that this man is ready and armed every week and is going to give you nothing but upfront, honest truth about everything that's on your show. Give you criticisms and ways to fix it, ideas to help fix it. You don't take these ideas and make no changes to the show that everybody knows is not the same show anymore. You don't take any of his ideas, any of his criticisms, and apply it to what we see on television. Why? How could you listen to a show like that and take absolutely nothing from it? Which makes me believe Tony either has a fetish, a weird one, or he is defiant, thinking that he can do a better job than anybody else and wants to prove in any which way possible that Jim Cornette is wrong about what he's doing. Otherwise, he'd change it. It all goes back to Tony having a lust for power. That's it. Because I genuinely don't know how you could listen to someone like that and several other shows in the community shit on the same thing that everybody else is shitting on and do nothing to actively change the show to make it better and fix the problems that everybody is telling you are the problems for the show. We're not doing this because we hate AEW. We're not critical of AEW because we hate AEW. We want the show to be better because we believe in what Tony Khan has created and believe in the roster of talent that he has on that show weekly. It has nothing to do with hate. It has nothing to do with hating Tony Khan, hating the company, hating AEW, wanting to see it die. We want the show to be better. He's doing nothing to actively change the show for the better. Now, granted, Dynamite was a decent show. I enjoyed Collision last night. I thought Collision was better than Dynamite last night. This was the best week of AEW television from a two-show perspective in the same week all year. And we'll discuss more of that on Wednesday when Jesse returns to the show on Wednesday. We'll have a different vibe about it. I enjoyed Collision a lot. I enjoyed what happened on that show. I thought it was better than Dynamite. But two good shows in the same week after a string of bad shows is not AEW moving on and changing for the better. You need to have a string of great shows, a string of great stories, stories that matter and emotionally invest into the audience. We're not getting that right now. We're not. Granted, we have MJF moving on from Jeff Jarrett. I don't know what the fuck he's doing with Dustin Rhodes. We have Jeff Jarrett off of TV. Hopefully that stays that way. MJF's moving on to a feud with Adam Page potentially. I don't know. I don't know how everybody thinks that this is a changing of the guard. We're on the upswing here. One good week. No, you need a string of good weeks, and then maybe we'll start changing our tone. 1 week is not going to change the company for the better, and it's not going to restore the feeling. It's good. Hopefully they can keep it up. But 1 week is not going to change things. And I don't know how you listen to Jim Cornette and don't actively change the show for the better. I think that's just fucking bizarre. I really do. And Jimmy Jacobs is not going to give you the full details of what's going on there. He signed an NDA. He's not with the company anymore. We don't know how long that NDA is in effect for. He's not going to give you exactly what's going on. He's going to tell you exactly what he is able to tell you against the NDA. Do I believe he was a part of the creative? Yes. We'll never know what part of the creative, how much creative say he's had in AEW. That's something they don't want out there. Because if you found out all their secrets, then you're going to know actively who to blame. And the blame going to Tony is something that they don't want to have happen. We all just assume because he's boss man. But if we find out exactly what's going on and it all comes back to Tony Khan, not going to be a good look for Mr. Elite. Thank you guys very much for all your support. If you enjoyed today's episode, leave me a comment down below. Let me know what you think of this story. What do you think of Tony Khan listening to Jim Cornette's podcast weekly? Let me know what you think of the Jordynne Grace deal, Drew McIntyre, and Cody Rhodes this year, potentially for the WWE Championship. Comment section is yours. Sound off down there. Everything you leave down there helps us out in the algorithm. Hit that thumbs up. Make sure you guys hit that thumbs up and let's try for 1,000 likes today on OTS. Make sure you go check out all of the great content on the channel. Plenty more coming next week. We're back to a regular week. Monday, we're live for Raw. Tuesday night, Titans returns on Tuesday. And Jesse is back on Wednesday for Dynamite. Make sure you guys go check all that stuff out on the homepage. And also follow me on social media at JD206, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and Cameo. Have a great Super Bowl Sunday, guys. Enjoy the game, and I'll see you right back here live after Raw, right here on Off the Script. I'll see you guys later.